Hello and welcome to UFO Radio. I am your host, Mr. Alejandro Rojas, and I have with me Mr. Doug Explorer Smythe.
Oh, I like that. Explorer. No one.
Do you like it? Yeah.
I like that.
I used to do this thing where I would, with my guest host, which it started off with Jason McClellan, who worked for Open Minds, and then I used to do this with Martin, where I would insert a nickname in the middle, and I would do a new one every week. Oh. And I stopped doing that a ways back. Some people have asked why I don't do that anymore. It's kind of twofold. I kind of run out of words. It felt a little gimmicky, and you know what? I feel like I just don't know if I could come up with the words as quickly as I could before.
Well, I mean, this is a chance to exercise that muscle, man. I mean, like, let me be your blank canvas for nicknames, because I grew up without a nickname.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really? And does that, like, it seems like you're sad about that. It's somehow
everyone else had a nickname. I didn't have a nickname. So it was like, I mean, then you watch shows where everyone has a nickname and,
I'm sorry, dude.
No, it's okay. Now we're going to make up for that. All this lost time with you from here on in. Every time I sit in and sub on the show, you can, work that muscle.
All right. So Stacy has joined from Phoenix Move On. She says, "Hey guys, again, yes,
I'll be here for 5 minutes."
Yeah, we're teasing her. But let me get another opinion, another technical issue before we get to the news. See my face here? It's I can do these different colors. That's kind of white light. That's a little too orange. This is like right in the middle. It's a little too reddish, orangish, greenish for me, but I guess it'll have to do.
Shiny. You're looking shiny with that.
I am shiny, and so this is the difficulty. Here's a tip. Shiny is good.
Is it the light?
No, it's that you just got to always wipe your face down. Shiny's good, and you see this on television, especially women will be shiny. It's because they've moisturized, and you should moisturize your face a lot, especially if you live in Arizona. Right now, actually, I'm in Southern California, Open Mind headquarters. And in fact, I was in the back yesterday when we did our show. Now I'm in my living room so I could get the Christmas tree in the background.
There's
stuff on there, too.
Where's mine?
Oh, no, someone did comment on yours. Yeah, they liked it. So, yeah, I wanted to get the Christmas thing in here. Plus, I had some internet issues, so it's easier to get in here. Is no nicknames to breaking news. Somebody's freaking out about breaking news. We'll get to the news.
I know, I saw that. Like, it's so breaking, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's just we cover the latest news every week, and sometimes people will say that. Well, what's the breaking news? Or is this really breaking news? And I would argue yes, because I cover the news that you're UFO news, and I watch it on a regular basis. So you're going to get the latest and greatest news.
Yeah, and in contrast to like the transatlantic telegraph system, which still took about 17 hours to get news from across the. I mean, like this is breaking when you compare it to, Wagons West.
Oh, the pro tip though, the second part of the pro tip was just to, when you go on there, and I didn't do this before, wipe your face down if you're a person like me with oily face. And that's the late breaking news, that oily face issue.
Okay, bye guys.
When you're doing video can be resolved from that. I just figured that out, so that's why it's breaking news.
As a male grooming expert,
right.
Shininess not only comes from moisturizing, it also comes from over exfoliation too. A lot of times you'll see people with like shiny foreheads and whatnot. They're over exfoliating. They love to sell guys exfoliating products now. It's like in everything, and people are overdoing it. So,
and you know what? As someone who's troubled with acne his whole life, the exfoliation, and I've read this, and I agree. Dermatologists said that. Yeah, it just inflames it. So really, more you'll want to use like a retinol or something naturally. Let your face kind of expel what it needs to, and coupled with shaving,
if you're shaving, you're already exfoliating. There's nothing more exfoliating than dragging a razor blade across your face. So people will typically do that and then exfoliate on top of that, and it's like, oh god, you're just overdoing it. So throw it out of equilibrium real fast.
Okay.
But late breaking news.
But Doug Smythe, for those of you who don't know, he owns Phoenix Shaving. So these topics are actually in his wheelhouse. So definitely plug him to thank him for being here. If you're not aware, on most Thursdays, Doug and I do a What is Doug Reading? Because he reads like these esoteric kind of occult type of topics. And so we discuss those, which is a lot of fun. And so sometimes he joins me for the UFO show too, because he has an interest in that. So that's why we're talking about that. But otherwise, okay, Dirk is asking, why are all the Buddhists fat? The real guy was ultra thin. You know, it's a good question. We got to get to UFO news, but I want to answer this question because I'm a nerd like that. But the actually original Buddha was thin. It was the Buddha who brought Buddhism to Japan, who was chunky. And he is often the character that's represented. That is the big laughing happy
not
Buddha.
the Indian, not Siddhartha.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, there you go with that. But news. Before we get into more kind of the UFO news, which have you been able to even look at much in the way of UFO news?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, aside from
which
Israel,
is okay.
and Israel and monoliths is what I got right now. I mean, I've really been busy.
So you've been super busy.
That's why I'm here. I'm here for the breaking news.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah. So let's then first start with the monolith. You know, the other topics you mentioned, I think people probably might be more excited to talk about, not me. But I do have some late breaking kind of more information that I do think is interesting.
This is where the thumbs down are coming from, man. You got to give people what they want. You're too punk rock.
You know what? You're right, and I do want to speak to that. I did get some thumbs down last week. Unfortunately, for those of you who did the thumbs down, hoping that it would have an impact on me, it didn't really. I kind of like it. No, but what did have an impact is somebody said, "Hey, you were kind of just talking trash about a lot of people last week, and that's what you mostly did in the show." Good point. And I agree with that point. And while I feel it was needed, and part of the reason I do that is to warn you all not to fall into these tropes or problems that others do. And for Doug, just so you know, like what I was really frustrated with was, you know, this new UAP news came that we'll talk about in just a little bit. UFO Twitter had turned it into something it was not, and then they get mad with the authors when it's not what this fake fantasy stuff that they turned it into. So it's really just really goofy and weird. If they would have waited and been patient and listened to me and tempered their expectations like me, they would have been excited about this news. So that's what I was attempting to say. And the way I did it now was probably a lot more productive of a way to put it than just like trashing all those dudes. But I still kind of, at least I got it off my chest, and it was maybe a little cathartic for me.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And, you know, honestly, Google rewards for thumbs down too and thumbs up because it says that your content's interesting. Oh, yeah. And controversial stuff does really well because of it. So, keep that in mind. Pro tip again for all you guys out there. Breaking news. Breaking news.
Breaking news. But, okay, so let's get into the breaking news because that was regarding breaking news. But so I'm going to try to be more active. I'm going to try not to trash, but more positive about, you know, what are the solutions or what can we do to move forward, or maybe what is a better approach to approach things. So I'll work on, even though I think some of you in here liked the way I was talking, and some of you even egged me on a bit. But thank you. Welcome to Eric and Mary and Dirk and Larry and Hector and all of you guys. I do want to answer this question too. Hector said, did you have Rich Hoffman on last Wednesday? Great question. Actually, I'm a member of the Scientific Coalition for UAP Research. In fact, I helped found it. I on these lectures for CSU, I actually host them. And essentially, because we couldn't have our conference, we have had people talk about their talks online. So we did. And Richard Hoffman was the one that we did last week. He talked about AIDS in investigating UFOs. like the type of equipment and software that you could use to do this sort of thing. It was a great talk. People loved it. You'll find that on the SCU YouTube page. So check that out. Just look up SCU. I think it's also Explore SCU might be the way that they have it on YouTube. So that's where you'll find that. It was a lot of fun, and you were right. Let's see. And Kevin Childress, we'll get into this, is arguing with me about Israel. And I Dead Celebrity is saying stay Henri, which is really funny. Okay, I had this argument. Oh, no. This is off topic. I'm going to do it. Let's do it. This is funny. This is about being Henri. And I'm sorry. I hope I don't lose some of you, but I think you'll like this. We're going to talk about the Black Vault, John Greenwald, who I was in this big fight with for a long time, but we're cool now. But we had this conversation, and you'll like this. This is a nerd conversation about Star Wars and Jedis. So I asked him, because you guys could probably all realize I'm a total nerd, total dork, but I identify as a Jedi. I'm pretty much overall a goody two-shoes, try to help people, definitely this kind of goody two-shoes Jedi kind of role.
Not me. I'm a smuggler.
Really?
I have a Light Raider, Millennium Falcon in the backyard. Oh, yeah.
You're like a Han Solo. So you're not a Jedi or a Sith.
I'm his irrepressible younger brother, I think. Yeah. Even when I played the role-playing game back in the day, I was always a smuggler.
That's what you like. That makes sense. I could see that.
Fits me, right?
So I asked Greenwald, what are you? And I think most people would say he would identify as a Sith because he is really Henri. And he, in fact, he got in a little bit of a Twitter fight with Tim McMillan, the guy who wrote that UAP article that we're going to get into in a second. And I was like, I don't think he appreciated your humor. I love both the guys are great to me. And I was asking him, so I think you're actually the Henri Jedi. I didn't say that. I actually asked how he identifies, and he said identifies as Jedi. So I called him the Henri Jedi. And then what I did was I posted a summary of the situation with this photo that is very controversial. This is a breaking news, really, that was released by the debrief. Kind of a summary of what was going on. I wouldn't have been able to get that summary if it wasn't for this battle between John and Tim that was going on. Both were very helpful in getting me that information. But when I posted it, everybody's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And he's like, well, when I tried to post that information, everybody got mad at me. That's the problem with the Henri Sith or the Henri Jedi. People don't trust the Henri Jedi. They're hesitant of the Henri Jedi. But in the background, the Henri Jedi is actually the badass who's out there, discovering the news and stuff like that. But it's the good Jedi who get all the credit. So like when I posted it in a nice, kind Jedi manner, they're like, oh, this is Jedi news. This is stuff we can take. And Henri Jedi is just kind of like, hey, I posted the same thing. That's just one of the problems with being the Henri Jedi.
First penguin in Honorary Jedi, probably the same thing. First penguin jumps in the water first. Sea lion gets him. Then all the other penguins make it across. So,
great point. Where all the Jedi are like, "Hey, let's hold back for a second. There's probably a sea lion in the water." And Honorary Jedi is like, "Screw you guys! I'm getting in the water." They get eaten. All the other Jedi, I'll do it.
What I want?
Honorary. It's Henri. Mace Windu. There were some Henri Jedis out there.
Oh, no doubt. We need them in this world.
So Kevin Childress is going off on the Israel news, even though we're not there yet, but we'll get there. All right. So some of the news. Let's talk Monolith first. First of all, this monolith appears in the desert in Salt Lake City. People go check it out. It's made out of sheet metal. You guys have probably seen it, 6 feet tall. If any of you have not seen it, let me know in the chat and I'll look it up and I'll show you. Then the thing gets taken down, and I don't know if you saw this. Did you see about how it got taken down?
Yes. Yeah. I hate those self-righteous types that we need a little bit of magic in this world and these little unexplainable things. It keeps things interesting. Then you have these self-righteous, pack it in, pack it out. It's like calling it trash. It's like, it's not trash. It's art. It's an artistic statement. It's expression, and it's not hurting anybody. I mean, it's a really fun thing. And like, you got these, I just can't stand people like that. They just didn't get it. Sorry, that's just where I'm at with that. I hope I don't get thumbs down for that.
Well, we'll see. But that's okay. You said that's good. That's controversy. So. And it's funny, Ad Astra is saying, do we have to go over the Israeli BS? We will for a second. And I want to honor Kava Childress, who is very pro this. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know what the Israeli news is. So we'll get into that. But yeah, so these guys took it down and they're like, oh, it's causing all these people to drive here and it's hurting the environment. It's not supposed to be here. I don't know. I can see that, but I don't think the right move is to go take it down yourselves, because who are you to decide this?
Exactly. And they should have, honestly, no one should have ever announced it. Once they discovered it, they should have been like, okay, that's cool. Like, that's what caused all of this. So I can't really blame those guys. I can blame the guys who discovered it. And I guess if we're going to blame anybody, but yeah, I just hate that crap. I'm sorry, go on.
No, you're right. I think I agree with you. And I think others will agree with you too. And if you're not aware, essentially some guy said he went out there to go check it out. He saw these guys taking it down and throwing it in their truck as they left. And he got a couple pictures of it. And the guys were saying, essentially what we're saying. They're like, this isn't being here. It's hurting the environment, blah, blah, blah. And then they took it away. Since then, a couple of monoliths have popped up in other parts of the world. I think they had one in Canada. I can't remember all of the places, but there are some others that popped up also. Yeah, California.
I think it's cool.
What's that?
I think it's really cool. I mean, it's like I'd rather have people copycatting monoliths than serial killers. It seems to be a very human thing to do, copycat thing. But I think it's kind of poetic and an extension of what the monolith was really all about. Which is, and honestly, when I first heard the news about these guys taking it down, I could just think of that David Bowie song in my back of my head, like, look at those cavemen go. And which is ironic because it's based off the 2001 Space Odyssey monolith. I mean, one can only assume. So there's the irony there is the cavemen or, the monkeys and the cavemen. But I think it's cool. Yeah, keep the monolith alive, people. And then you had it again in California. These born-again Christians came and took it down. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Yes, so monoliths, and what they did was they took it down and put up a cross instead. It's like
and you know what? Mike Pingleton, I love this. He said it wasn't hurting anybody. It's not a fracking tower, which I think is a good point. Fracking does hurt people.
Or a city that these guys came from. Kill yourself if you don't want to hurt the environment.
Banksy is a guerrilla artist in Europe who paints these amazing murals, which are technically graffiti. I think sometimes he gets permission, but he's anonymous. People don't know who he is. And his artwork can sell for a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really, super popular. I see this as one of those kind of things, kind of a guerrilla art installation, and it inspired others to do the same.
Art for art's sake. And I think that's important, and we need more of that in the world instead of all this other crap that's going on. So yeah, it made me really happy, and then it restored my faith in mankind. And then these ignorant jackasses come along and do what people always. Everything is always great until humans enter the picture. It seems.
I know. Yeah, humans are really a problem with our planet, I think.
Everything. They just don't get along. Like 30 or more, you can run the tribe. As soon as it exceeds that, it breaks off into just different factions, and it's they can't work together. It's horrible.
Banksy is a she. I didn't know that. Do they know who Banksy is? I know a very European watchers in here. I'm sure we've got people from England, from elsewhere. Let us know if you're from Europe. Ad Astra is saying no, he isn't. So it looks like there's some debate, which is interesting because that's what I understand. From what I understand, there's some ideas of who Banksy might be, but nobody knows for sure. But if you know more, let me know. Aunt G says, good day from Australia.
Good day.
Welcome. Aunt be a popular name in Europe and I guess in maybe Australia too. So yeah, now people are debating right now whether Banksy's a he. Interesting. Jason is saying it's a collective. That could be because they're all over the place. So who knows? But anyway, there's the monolith. But all of this kind of goes into the problem with humans, goes into this Israeli story. So the Jerusalem Post posted this article that supposedly this science security expert, who really was a science security expert, now he's like in his 80s. He is saying that aliens are a real thing, that Trump knows that we've had conversation with aliens, that essentially there's a galactic federation, but we're not ready to join it, and that Trump hasn't told the world because the world's not ready for it. But apparently he's told people like this security science specialist. I don't know how he allegedly came across this information or why he would have it. And I think it begs to, which will actually spill into our next topic. If he has this information, it would mean probably much others have that information. And why wouldn't they know? But there's already a ton of problems with this. I know Kevin Childress is in here, and he heard me talking junk about this yesterday and saying there's zero credibility to it, which there isn't. There is none, no credibility. And I would say, you know, I feel the same way about every single alleged whistleblower who's come forward without any evidence or corroborating information. So, for example, Lazar, Corso, all of these people I feel are highly suspect. Corso had an interesting, Colonel Corso had a really interesting background. And people have been talking about Colonel Corso lately because Jack Valet brought him up on the Joe Rogan show. I think expressing my opinions about the Joe Rogan show got me in trouble last week. But
Day After Roswell? Is that the author of Day After Roswell?
Exactly. Author of Day After Roswell. But supposedly, and this is what Jacques said on Joe Rogan's show, the Day After Roswell was created off of his personal notes, which were printed in Italy. Well, the gentleman who helped print those notes in Italy worked for Open Minds. And we worked to get permission at Open Minds to release the English version of those notes, and we did. And so we've had them up on Open Minds for maybe a decade or so now. So you can go look at those notes at Open Minds TV in the resources. Maybe I'll show that to you guys real quick. So you could go look at them yourselves. And I'll tell you what, looking at his personal notes, Jacques made it sound as though that will somehow bring credibility to the situation. It does not at all. These notes are kooky. I don't understand how they got the book information out of these notes, to be honest. So it's another one that just does not seem to fit the
good book,
what we know is reality.
That's a good book, Day After Roswell. But even Strom,
it's interesting.
Strom Thurmond wrote the intro, I believe, or the was it Strom Thurmond? Senator Strom.
So if you go here, Corso's Dawn of a New Age. I'm not sure actually, but if you go there, Dawn of a New Age.
He retracted it though when he figured out what the book was about. But yeah.
Oh, I think you're right. I think I remember that. But here it is. Here's where you can get that manuscript, and as far as I know, it's the only place you can get it. There was essentially Bill Burns wrote the book with Colonel Corso.
Right.
People accuse Bill Burns of taking a lot of leeway and kind of filling in gaps and creating a story that wasn't there. But if you read his notes, there's really no comprehensive story there. So if he did that, he did it for the narrative nature of the book, but that would have created a lot of false aspects in the book. I don't know whether or not that's happened. To be honest, I have no idea. I think Bill Burns would have not wanted to do that. And Bill Burns, though, didn't let these notes get out that we released that you're looking at right now, because he believed that he had the rights to those notes. We got permission from Phil Corso's son because he had passed away by the time we were seeking to post these. And Bill Burns had said, that's fine, you guys can do whatever. But I just want to say, you know, I think that I had the rights to these. So I don't know. We didn't get into any big battle. They were fine with them posting them because we have a great relationship with the Burns. So we posted those here. But they're weird, man. They're really weird.
I can imagine. Yeah. I do remember reading that book. That book was, I wish it was true. It was awesome. It was a really good book. But
here's the other issue that I brought the other day, and I'll talk about, you know, why would this guy say these things? I don't know, but I can tell you this.
Releasing a book. Isn't he releasing a book?
He is releasing a book, so that could be it.
Yeah, he wants to, you know, leaving his family some cha-ching, and you know, so there's that. There's also President. If President Trump, when has he ever held back creating public hysteria? If he had this information, he'd have no problem talking about it over something else. I mean, he would bring it up. He doesn't hold anything,
especially right now.
At first, yeah.
And that's what everybody's been saying. Even, you know, Trump supporters are like, there's no way he would hide that information. He would definitely get it out there. And so, and I don't think we have an inkling of any hint that Trump has any sort of belief along these lines at all from statements that he's made. If we only wait for, see, Kevin Childress, I think he's just so off on this. He's saying that this is why nothing has ever goes forward, because we don't believe and we don't give these people the benefit of the doubt. If we won't, and this is a great statement. And sorry, Kevin, I don't mean to pick on you, but you know, you're a big guy. You can defend yourself. But he says, if we only wait for official revelation, then we'll see we're all wasting time or something like that. Official revelation, people have been waiting for that for decades. Nothing has come. There has been no official revelation. And this is what gets me kind of frustrated. There is no official revelation. What we've got right now with the UAP task force and all of that was not an official revelation. In fact, you know, this was Elizondo coming out with unofficial revelations. Everything we've seen are unofficial revelations. Right. What has the DOD said regarding these revelations? We cannot, the UAP topic is classified. What they're researching, the results of their research is classified. We plan on sharing nothing. They plan on no official revelation. We can't sit and wait for official revelations. How do we move forward, Kevin asked. I would advise this when it comes to the Israeli stuff, throw it out of your mind. It's a waste of time. Here's another example. This is really interesting, and I don't think I've shared this with you, Doug. Paul Hellyer is a retired former defense secretary for Canada. He actually says stuff somewhat similar to the Israeli guy. I was there when Hellyer came out. I'm not saying at the moment, but at the time, I was involved with some of Hellyer's first conversations with the UFO community. I had dinner with him at the time with some of his UFO community friends, and I won't say who they are because I don't want to make them feel bad, but they were feeding him crap information. I can tell you that right now. And these are the same people who are speculating and leading a lot of people down the wrong road now, based off this speculation that they have sold, that somehow they believe and they run with. Anyway, in my interview, and you can find it, it was in 2010, the first time I interviewed him in October, I did a podcast and I asked him these questions. Well, how do you know this information? What information did you come across when you were the Minister of Defense? Guess how much information he told me he came across as the Minister of Defense. You're exactly right. Big, fat goose egg. He said, I was too busy. I wasn't interested in this topic. Nothing of this topic, can I recall, ever came across my desk. So why do you believe these things now? He read the day after Roswell. He talked with a friend he said was a general in the United States who said there's something to it. So he started looking into UFOs. He began talking to more speculative, less rigorous UFO researchers who convinced him of all this wild goofball junk. And he's been parroting the stuff that these people believe, who are not like people who are held as, rigorous, great researchers or something. They're not the Chris Mellons of the world or something. These are, people who really are kind of your typical mythology kind of speculation pushing kind of UFO researchers. Yeah. So that's why he purports all of these weird things that he says he believes. Bill Bushman was the same way. I think I've got it. Boyd Bushman. I don't know if you remember this, Doug. There was a story where this retired scientist right before his death showed these pictures of aliens, said there's aliens at Area 51. And he was a real scientist who worked like at Lockheed Martin on different projects. And so when people asked why he believed this, I think I was even able, because I did get an interview with him before. I've talked with him on email. Same thing. Somebody sent these pictures. I think they're real, and I shared them. I've got an article where we go through these pictures. They're like mostly a plastic doll from Walmart that was sold during Halloween. Most of these pictures. Boyd Bushman went crazy before he died, Ad Astra is saying. You're exactly right. Who else? I mean, the list goes on. There's Corso, of course. We talked about Paul Hellyer, Boyd Bushman. I can't remember maybe some others, but the problem is that this isn't official information that these people came across. We don't know at all whether allegedly this information this Israeli guy came across was official. But here's the other. So and if you're watching or listening, I don't mean to discourage you in any way, because there was a listener or viewer who works for a think tank in Israel, and he did an intelligence report on UFOs. He sent it to me. I sent it to a bunch of colleagues. I don't know if he sent this to Chris Mellon separately, but I also sent it to him, and Chris Mellon tweeted it. And I don't know if he read it, but everyone, all of my friends and myself who read it, thought it was not credible. Why?
About this, yes.
Again, it's as if someone went on the internet to look up UFOs and then wrote a report about what's on the internet regarding UFOs, including all of the debunked information that is out there. And I think that's interesting that we have these two reports coming out of Israel right now, if they have some sort of interest. But if they're just like looking on the internet to figure out what's up with these UFOs, the Americans seem to be into it, they need to be looking at this UAP task force report and not some of the other bunk out there, because really all they're doing is parroting this mythology that has been out here for decades that mostly has been largely debunked. And here's the other problem, I guess I'll get to for Kevin Childress, who says, well, we got to wait. What if this is real? What if he's telling us the truth? All of these other people I mentioned who should be people in the know with the truth, none of them are saying the same thing. So there's nothing that corroborates these people, and nor do they corroborate each other's information, which you would think at least they would do if there was anything to it. It's just really, really poor information. Kevin, good luck to you. Do keep us apprised, of course, if you find any more information that does give any credibility to that information in that Jerusalem Post article. But thus far, it has zero credibility. Well, I shouldn't say zero. The person himself has credibility. The information does not.
Ad Astra is right too, and like that's my first thought too. Was like, we can't tell you. The aliens don't want us to tell you any information about this. But by the way, there's bases on Mars. It's like, well, wait, you weren't supposed to tell us anything at all. That.
But you told us where your headquarters are, so we can go there and try to blow you up.
Yeah, no, it's really, if you just look at it critically, none of this makes it. Again, it's like Greek mythology, where it's just like non-linear, and you're supposed to somehow, your brain tries to make sense out of this, and you can run with it. But I mean, when you just hold it up to the light for just a second, you're like, oh, this breaks apart. None of this makes sense. But that's where we are in the world right now.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be even like necessarily discounting everybody. It's just, for instance, I've been doing this for years, and you hear these stories over and over again, but the information's not corroborated. And you can see these people, and I'll ask them, they'll come out of these lectures at an event, and they'll say, oh, I just listened to this person and this person and this person. And I'm like, well, the first person said aliens are bad. The second one said aliens are good. The third one says they're both, but he's the only one that's talking to aliens, and anybody else who's talking to aliens is lying to you.
Yeah.
You say you believe all of them. Talk about cognitive dissonance. That's impossible. They can't all be right. They're all saying something different. Well, I think they're all a little bit right, or whatever. You can't just pick and choose like that. That's not corroborating evidence. That is
in the same space. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Talk about putting matching a circle with a square.
Yeah. It's a faith religion. A lot of these people, it's the same thing. I mean, it's a faith-based religion and paranormal activity. They believe it. I mean, it depends who says it, apparently, but does it really depend who says it? When these people are just exploiting their resumes at the end of the day, they're old men trying to make a buck to leave to their family before they kick it, I think, for being horrible.
But there's another phenomena that goes on, and I keep talking about this, and the example of this would be this gentleman called Dick French. And you can see we had an interview. I think I hid that on YouTube because it was ridiculous, but we had maybe an article. So this is a guy who came to the conference, said he was a World War II ace. He was a test pilot, and he knew something about Shag Harbor. He was there and he saw it. So, okay, we were kind of interested. Antonio did an interview with him, and it was funny because we shared it, although I was against it, because it was wild. Antonio was like, oh my gosh, this is every UFO incident Antonio brought up. Oh yeah, I knew about that. I was there. He said, I wrote Project Blue Book. No, it's not a book. It doesn't have authors. There's no authors to Project Blue Book. There are a bunch of different reports. And if he would have said, oh yeah, I participated in some of those investigations and wrote some of those reports, that would be one thing. But no. And every single UFO event you would talk about, I was there. Yep, I remember that. So, I mean, it was like we verified this guy really was who he was. He really was an important person, back in the past. But now, and I always ask, maybe you and I will be doing this, podcast in 30 years, and we're going to be like, so how many aliens did you talk to today?
I killed 3 on the way here. Yeah. Later on this week.
Exactly. So maybe that's just what happens to our goofy man brain when we get old. I don't know. But you know what, guys? This isn't about, stories. This is about trying to figure things out and trying to establish and credible information. Hector brought up Ken Johnson. Another great point. So Ken Johnson was going around calling himself Dr. Ken Johnson. That was until I got a hold of him. But and now he is
Nurse.
Nurse Ken Johnson.
Nurse.
So he was out there purporting that he had seen these pictures of the moon, that he worked with NASA and was an astronaut, blah, blah, blah. He wears this jumpsuit that makes it seem like he's an astronaut.
The ones we have?
The ones we have. Our space camp jumpsuits. I've got one.
Orange. Yeah.
Except his is a blue one. You have the orange. I got the blue.
I have a blue one also.
Oh, okay. His was a blue. So I did some research into it, and unfortunately, this was after the conference because I saw he had done some interviews. I really started to get fishy about what he was saying and the details. Then I found James Oberg, who I respect, even though a lot of people see him as a debunker. I know because I communicate with him occasionally. He is really into this topic. That he had done this total investigation into Ken Johnson and, really clarified the truth behind a lot of what he had to say. So for instance, Ken Johnson worked at a volunteer program where his job was to go into the database of publicly released photos from NASA at the same public database everybody has. So essentially a high school teacher would call up and say, hey, do you have some pictures of Saturn? And they'd say, hey, Ken, can you send these guys pictures of Saturn? And he would go look for those pictures and send them. And this program was great. It was advocating schools and people learning about science and space. And Ken volunteered for this for many years. I absolutely respect that he did that. But he says in this high school, essentially database, he saw these pictures that were photoshopped by NASA. First of all, if you look at the pictures, they're not convincing. But what he doesn't describe it that way. He describes it as having access to the secret database, blah, blah, blah. So I looked into his degree and I asked him, share me some more information about this, because he said it was from this baptism seminal type of thing. So I looked it up. They didn't offer these doctorates in what he said he got a doctorate in. And in fact, the doctorate he provided me too. I've got an article on this on the UFO Think Tank website. The documents were different. The verbiage was different. And there was a school listed there. I looked it up. It was a hoax school where you can send like $50 and they'll send you a doctorate, where the name is slightly different from this well-respected Baptist church university. I called up that university and I spoke to the dean, and the dean had said, I'm aware of this other company. They are hoaxers. They're a degree mill. We never offered a degree at any doctorates that are anywhere close to what they're talking about. Right. And, they were trying to tell me this is where it came from. So I debunked that. I wrote an article. Sorry, we misrepresented Ken Johnson. He is not a doctor. Ken said he wasn't aware that this was a degree mill, but at the same time, he's the one who spent $50 to get this degree. He had to have known that's not legit.
Yeah.
I wish I could get a degree for $50. So again, but he really did work on the Apollo project as an engineer. He was working for a company that was contracted to work on it. So he did work on Apollo project. He was as an electrician. And he did do some kind of cool things in his career in the past. So I think he should be proud of what his career actually is and the volunteer work that he's done. I think that's great. But yeah, I warn people he's portraying himself to be something he isn't.
Yeah, he's misrepresenting himself.
So, I mean, it just happens. These people with credible backgrounds say some stuff that is not credible. And if they're not substantiating it, I would warn you, in my experience, and all of these people that I've just referenced, that old guys with impressive backgrounds can be just can get things wrong and just fall for a bunch of wild stories these look wild on the surface. The vast majority of you all who have seen those articles that are commenting in the chat are just commenting on how ridiculous they are. And so, but Kevin buys them, and Kevin also is an impressive person. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, everybody is ex-military in Israel, if you really think about it, too. So you can't really use that as a point.
But he really was a leading scientist for security.
Oh, yeah. He's 87 years old. I mean, looking at probability alone, what could be really going on here? He's 87 years old. So razor at the end of the day when it comes to something like this. And okay, he's 87 years old. He's about to release a book. I mean, come on, people. I mean, it's just it's right there. This is so. We need breaking news here, though. What?
Well, that was some breaking news right there. Well, relax, Doug. Relax. I have some breaking news for you specifically. Here's some breaking news for you specifically.
Oh, talk to me.
Yeah, you're gonna like this. Let me find it. This was very exciting. Dolene Reynolds says that she has a great program. She says, Doug, how many PhDs do you want? Apparently, you qualify for her PhDs. I don't. But she's saying,
I bought a square foot of land in Scotland. Oh, that is funny.
Yeah,
you know, for a while, putting down I was Time Life Man of the Year for no, because in 1997, I think it was 97, the cover of Time Life was a mirror, and it voted everybody in as Time Life Man of the Year.
Really?
So, in theory, we could all put that down on our resume. So I was doing that jokingly, but you know, I was called out by a couple people. I was like, no, it's legitimate. I mean, we were all voted as Time Life Man of the Year. So remember that, people.
That's a great one. I'm going to use that. I got to find it.
Find the date. I'm pretty sure it was 97, but I could be wrong. But it did happen. So yeah, make that work for you. Put it on your business card.
So I guess again, here is just a warning that just take that story with a humongous grain of salt. The likelihood of that going anywhere is extremely slim. But we do have credible information. And here's the late breaking news regarding the credible information we talked about for the last couple of weeks.
Nice.
Baba Yaga just mentions that triangle is a joke. Not necessarily. Actually, it's not at all. Here's the story. Okay. So here's the summary, Doug. I'll tell it to you and we'll see what your reaction is. So you're probably aware that there was this article that came out that would be this big news. Actually, James Fox came on my show, said there's big news coming out. Everybody's like, what news? What's the big news? Trump's going to release that there's aliens. You know, they're going to tell us Roswell was real, all this wild stuff. Wasn't related to any of that at all. But it was exciting. And it was actually even more exciting than I expected, which was the UAP task force released 2 reports to the intelligence community. The first report included an image taken from the cockpit of an F-18 of an object described to be either cube or shield-like. And that got people excited, although they weren't that excited, you know, but they were more excited about this report that came out in 2019 of an alleged triangular craft, also taken from a cell phone from an F-18, this time in 2019. And in the article was an artist's rendition of this image, which showed, you know, not too far out of the cockpit, this triangular object, which looked a lot like what you would read in David Marler's triangular UFO books, you know, a triangle with lights at each corner. I will note, too, that David Marler, and I agree with him, does not believe there is such a thing as TR-3B. There is no evidence of that. That's just rumors. So, and, you know, allegedly this UAP task force report said that they had confirmed these were actual unidentifieds, and they are not ours. So that's really interesting, I think, that, and I guess these articles and these photos got the intelligence community really excited. Like it was a buzz. Everybody's talking about these UFO photos. You know, there's someone, Bob McGuire, who has some ties into the intelligence. Some of you know him because he's on UFO Twitter. He said he had seen one of these images and was aware of that. I confirmed independently that, yes, it's true. There are these photos out there buzzing, you know, making a big buzz. So pretty exciting. So that's the big story, and that supposedly these articles were shared with the Senate Intelligence Committee. But what happened was the next, I guess, in response to this article, and this is some of the late breaking news, what I'm sharing now, what I've been able to gather from all of these Twitter disjointed information, these little Twitter battles or whatever that have been going on, and my personal conversations with Tim, is what happened is people contacted Tim McMillan after he wrote that story on the debrief. And they said, hey, I've got a copy of that photo. And they showed him a copy of the photo. In fact, someone tweeted me and said, big deal, I've had this photo since May. And he shares this photo. And so that photo had been out there. What it looks like is a piece of paper that someone took a picture of. So somebody must have printed out the report, showed this guy. This guy took a picture with his cell phone and then posted that on the internet. So it's a photo of a paper photo, but it does look like a picture. Well, what essentially Tim said was, that's the photo. That's the cube photo, the 2018 photo. He said, since this is out there, the witness who asked him not to share it, he said, I'm going to share this because it's already out there. And I guess that's what happened. He shared the photo on like December 3rd. That's when everything started falling down, and people started going crazy on UFO Twitter because lots of people were like, that looks like a Mylar balloon. That's totally a Mylar balloon. There's even a Mylar balloon that has kind of a similar shape, a Batman balloon, and people are like, this is the Batman balloon. Now, Tim did address this in his article. He asked these experts that he got a hold of. They said they didn't find the pictures particularly compelling that they're necessarily anomalous, but they said that's definitely not a balloon. They had a couple reasons why they say that's not a Mylar balloon. First of all, they said it's too high. It's 30 to 35,000 feet. There's no way that there could be balloons up there, that a Mylar balloon doesn't fly that high. So it's definitely not a balloon. They're like, we don't know what it is, but it's not a balloon. The other reason they said, which makes a lot of sense, and these were a couple of government officials, is that image would not be in this UAPTF report if it was a balloon. If they had any sense that that was a balloon, it wouldn't be in the report. They were very certain these were unidentified. They had analyzed them and determined that it wasn't a balloon. It gets more confusing, though.
Well, the cube is, where is the cube photo? It doesn't look like a cube. And someone brings it up in the chat box over here. And I agree. I could not see a cube for the life of me. And I'm all about cubes. I have a product that looks like a cube. So I was getting emails about, oh, your advertising has gone way too far now, with the cube. I was like, people about this for a while. But again, you're right. For the life of me, I can't find a cube in that photo either. It doesn't look like a cube to me. It looks like something else, some abstract shape.
See, Ad Astra is saying 32,000 feet for a helium-filled party balloon is absolutely possible. I've not read that anywhere. Every single place I've gone, and even there's a Balloon HQ website that says they've tested it. They haven't gotten it that high. So, and they even say it can't be all the way full to try it. So I don't know. We don't even know for sure. Here's the other problem. We don't even know for sure that it is at 30 or 35,000 feet because we have absolutely zero info on that. We have very little info because the UAP task force is not releasing those reports to the public where they detail more information. In fact, several people have asked the DOD about these UAP task force reports. And the DOD has said, like I said earlier, that their research is classified, their results are classified, the reports are classified. We're not doing anything. And that's been the response to several people. Last week, I did interview MJ Banayas, who's the editor for The Debrief, and I interviewed Tim McMillan, who wrote this article on The Debrief. So you could see those Rojas reports right here on this channel. But here's some new information since then that makes this really confusing. Tim has said, well, what happened was people looked at the EXIF data on the photo that Tim provided. And it said it was taken in May of 2019. When I posted that, Tim replied and said, that's because this is a photo of a photo. The photo of the photo was taken in 2019. However, more recently, Tim has said, well, maybe it is from 2019. So he said, I'm looking into it and I will share more data when I get the details. Because I told him really what you should probably do, because it's fair to, if you're going to share a photo, it's fair for people to try to analyze it, but they need information.
Yeah.
I think it's, what you ought to do is try to figure out everything you can about this photo and share that information to clarify. And that people understand the value of even investigating. If it's a photo of a photo, you're kind of wasting your time analyzing it because there's just not enough data there. Yeah. Here's the other problem. Mystery Wire, ran by George Knapp out of KLAS. Very interesting. You should follow it. They're posting essentially things related to lots of different mysteries, paranormal, but including UFOs. Ad Astra says they do not specify Mylar or latex. When I looked it up, the balloon did say it was Mylar. It's your typical party balloon that you can buy at, target.
But he's saying that it could go to that altitude.
I know, but everything that I've seen says it can't go to that altitude. So I don't know.
Science Journal is where he's getting this information from.
From the what?
BBC Science Journal. Do you have a link you can share with us, Ad Astra?
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Because everything I've said, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, this could be the breaking news we've all been waiting for.
Breaking news from Ad Astra. Yeah, do share that. That would be interesting. Because that's not what the balloon makers have said, but it's possible. Regardless,
I'm sorry, go on.
I guess regardless, he just shared the link, everybody. Late breaking news. Ad Astra shares link. Exposing.
Now they're all going to leave our show.
Balloon Gate.
Moongate, yeah.
But anyway, the point is also that, this balloon, as Tim had described it, that jet fighter had flown around it. So there may be more pictures that exist. Like your point, Doug, it didn't look like a cube. But, if you look at the actual picture and you zoom in, you can't tell anything. It could be a cube from a certain angle. When you have an object that is reflecting light, it's difficult to tell from what's the blob of pixels in that image. So I think it's too hard to tell. We just don't have enough information. Here's the other thing, though. Yeah, and I think that Louise has a good. Why would they file the report? The pilot obviously thought it was something other than a balloon. Who knows? Here's the other problem. So Mystery Wire, I was talking, they released an article saying they received that same image a year ago. So they can confirm that image is real and it was part of the UAP task force report. But then they made a correction to that article. And they said, we have the same image, but the object is different.
It's a TIE fighter. I made that.
But we can release our photo because we promised the witness we would not. So now the question is, what do you mean it's the same photo? Is it the exact same photo, but Tim's copy is photoshopped because your object is different? Is it when you say the same photo, it was just taken in the same sequence? Or is it a similar photo? If the photo that Mystery Wire has is from the 2018 incident, and Tim is now saying the photo he released for us from a 2019 incident, is this a third incident, a second 2019 incident? Was Tim fooled and given a picture that was photoshopped? We don't have answers to any of this. This is totally confusing. We have no clue. So we don't know much about these photos yet, where they come from, which is real, which isn't. However, I think what we really need to do is go back to that first article from December 2nd, because that has information that has been corroborated by several outlets. And I've corroborated some of that information, which is there was a couple of UAP task force reports out there. One of them did include a photo of an edged triangular aircraft that came out of the water that the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force has determined is not ours, it's not Chinese, it's not Russian. They don't know whose it is. They're excited about it, that the intelligence community got to take a look. They're all excited. And the Senate Intelligence Committee looked at this as well. And supposedly this nation was very and helped in this, what we have now, which is this Senate Intelligence Committee request for more information about UAPs. And interesting enough, it has passed the House and the Senate, and supposedly the overall defense bill, and it passed at such a margin that it is veto-proof, because the president was threatening to veto the bill, but now it's veto-proof. So there we go. Jason wrote, 99 Mylar balloons go by. That's cute.
I want to hear it in German.
Yeah.
You know, if I was going to, fake something though, that's how, as someone who knows Photoshop well, as a graphic artist, that's how I would do it. I would Photoshop it and then print it and then take a photo of the print. It'd just be harder to verify if it's real or not, because it loses its metadata and it's just on a different substrate. So it's harder to understand what's going on there. That's exactly how I would do it. It just to leave room for doubt and error.
Yeah. Ad Astra is making a couple point. It depends on the thickness of the Mylar. High altitude balloons are made of Mylar, all of which is true, but there's different types of Mylar, different treatments of the Mylar. They have different things. In fact, the Project Mogul used early technology of kind of these kind of Mylar techniques, but this is your typical, if this is your alleged typical party balloon, we know what type of Mylar, and I don't think they would use a weather balloon type of Mylar for a Batman kids party balloon.
No, and I see this stuff every day. Mylar balloons go to the desert to die, folks. When that escapes your hand and your grip, it always ends up in my backyard. I find so many of these. I swear to God, today I saw one. I actually made that statement to my girlfriend as we were hiking through the desert. I was like, "This is where balloons come to die," because I always find them out there. I know Mylar.
It was kind of funny because we went to Mexico City with Open Minds to film and stream this conference that Jaime Maussan had put on. And Jaime Maussan doesn't have a UFO video or photo he is seeing that he hasn't liked. I mean, he's very accepting of everything he sees that's being alien.
Yeah.
And a lot of the images, especially in the 90s or early 2000s, there were lots of images coming out and video coming out of Mexico. They were totally balloons. And when we went to Mexico City, I mean, and we even met some of these guys taking that. I mean, the place has balloon debris all over town in the power wires everywhere because they're launching balloons. They come back down and they fall on the ground or they get stuck in the power lines and they just leave them. It's not like here where we're cleaning stuff all the time. So yeah, Finn brought it up. Sky serpents, which were 100% trains of balloon from wedding balloon arches and stuff and they would videos and say, look, sky serpents. So, I mean, yeah, it does happen. And they get super bright up there too. So I don't know. Ad Astra seems to be pretty sure that picture was a Mylar balloon. I think others are as well. I'm not so sure. Some people are saying, what is the breaking news? All of what we just reviewed is breaking news. If you knew that news, it's just because you're following Twitter, and reading everything, which thank you. That's great if you're doing that. So for you, this might not have been news, but 99% of the people listening don't watch every single Twitter thing. And I can tell you, when I posted this in a thread yesterday, this compilation of where we are and the status of those pictures, it was news to everyone. So that is all the late breaking news, essentially the status of where we are in Balloon Gate, Batman Balloon Gate. I don't know, what's a clever gate term we could use for this?
I'm thinking we should brand breaking news, so it doesn't really need to be breaking news. It's just that's our brand. It's breaking news. So
good point. That's a really good point.
Breakingnews.com.
Ad Astra says balloon has to remain on the table. You know what? And I think he has a good point in that. I agree with that 100%. It's always everything's able to prove otherwise. It's just, as we discuss our opinions about, is it this or is it that? And of course, people are asking for pictures. Okay, and this gets into the last part, and we'll get to that in just a second here, but I'll finish this thought. Is until we see those reports, we don't know. I mean, it comes down to the same thing with the Nimitz and the videos that were released by To the Stars and by others, and eventually released by the DoD of the alleged UFOs. And these are UFOs they're saying are unidentified. They represent unidentified aerial phenomena that they have determined are unidentified aerial phenomena. How did they determine that? what research was done, we don't know. Luis Elizondo said, that there was a serious effort to investigate these cases, and that they were unable to determine what they were, but they are convinced they are not ours or the Chinese or the Russians or anyone else. How they came to that determination is a huge question. And unfortunately, the DOD is telling us they don't intend to share. So where do we go from here? Somebody asked. Where we go from here is to tell our government we're not satisfied with Susan Goff's answer. We're not satisfied with the DOD saying they are not going to share anything. We agree with you, Senate Intelligence Committee, that they do need to share information with the public, as the Senate Intelligence Committee has asked them to do in a report regarding the status of UAP research. And that's what we need to tell that's what we need to tell everybody. That's what we need to tell Susan Goff, the DOD, to say unacceptable. We want more. To tell our legislators, we want more, and to not stop until we get more. And will it work? I'm convinced it will work. At the SCU, we're up in our game on the advocacy of scientific investigation of this topic. And one of those, points is that government, you need to share some data. If you have data of unidentifieds, we do realize and respect that some of that remains to need to be classified, but there's no doubt some data that you can share with the public so that citizen scientists can review it and determine, what's going on here. That's the whole point, right? We all want to know what's going on with UAPs, what's behind the UAPs. Right. So that's what we need to do.
I know, I'm getting distracted by this too.
Like the way he says, call your local Congress member.
Felix Baumgartner.
I don't know what they're talking about there.
It's Happy Tree Gardener, if you translate it from Greek and Hebrew.
And Finn, who's from the UK, says, yeah, we have to keep on the US. And you can do that. Some of the most prolific FOIA document retrievers are from Australia. I've had them on the show, Keith Basterfield and Pete. Oh man, I'm forgetting his name. You guys will remember his name. I've had him on the show from Australia. He works with Keith Basterfield quite a bit. Paul Dean. Finn is the man. Great to have you back, Finn. Thank you so much. Yes, Paul Dean. They're Australians, and they're getting a ton of information, and they are really giving our government heck, and which is great because we all benefit from it, and they're getting amazing information. So shout out to Paul Dean and Keith Basterfield. But the point being that even if you're from another country, you can still harass our government for information, and they'll give you information at times. So good job. Luis says, how difficult is it to issue a FOIA, which is a Freedom of Information request? It's very easy. You need to know which agency right now, but what you do is essentially type FOIA and then whatever agency it is you want to look at. And you do need to be specific. So if you're looking for specific information, in this case, we're talking DOD, Office of Secretary of Defense, any of those will work for UAP Task Force, because the UAP Task Force currently answers to actually the Undersecretary of Defense. So that might even be better to go straight to them. But this is a Pentagon project. Actually, supposedly, all of these requests are being filtered through Susan Goff now for some reason. So she's going to get it anyway. But yeah, we inundate them all, but especially our lawmakers. But yeah, if you want to do a FOIA, that's what you ask about. Ask about, those images. Ask about anything and continue to ask. They may say, sorry, we're not sharing. It's classified, but we just need to tell them not acceptable. And I think we'll win that battle over time, to be honest, that we will get more information.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
We are the world.
We are the UFO world.
That Australians can file for freedom of information within our outside their country and with ours. That's interesting to me. I understand citizens can do it, but I realized you could do it internationally.
Paul Dean is very proud to say he's the most effective, like UAP FOIA researcher in the world, and he's Australia or something like that. And he's not necessarily wrong. Someone, of course, invoked the name John Greenwald, who we mentioned earlier, of the Black Vault, also extremely prolific. I mean, definitely keep an eye on John Greenwald's stuff. And I told people that even when he was mad at me and not saying very kind things about me, still follow him because he's got great information. If he starts, getting mad at me again, we're always teasing each other about that.
Why was he getting mad at you?
We just had a big disagreement. He essentially was saying, hey, the DOD is saying that To the Stars and Elizondo are full of it, and that New York Times story was totally wrong. I was saying, well, I think we have more than enough, an abundance of primary witnesses confirming what was written in that New York Times article. And, I didn't feel that way. I wasn't the only one. All of the major media people who were covering this story, including like Leslie Kean or Brian Bender or Tyler Rogoway, whoever else felt the same, because, weighing it, we had firsthand witness testimony, Harry Reid saying, yeah, this is all right. And the New York Times article, for the most part, has really held up. Most of the major points have held up to the scrutiny over the years and were accurate. So we just got it we also had a misunderstanding because he had some really good points, I think, especially next viewing it. But a lot of it was also just not communicating right, not understanding each other.
I mean, I love the full Wilcock, Finn. That is great. You were using that yesterday, too, like going full Wilcock. Wilcock is awesome.
And
going full Sleeping Prophet.
We'll go full Wilcock.
Yeah.
Grant Cameron is the FOIA king. I'm not sure why someone would say Grant Cameron is a FOIA king. Not even close to a Greenwald or a Paul Dean, but Grant gets them. Known Grant for a long time too. I guess that's about everything, guys.
That's the breaking news, folks.
There we do. We broke it all down for you, baby. Just like that. I think that it started off kind of slower, but that's the way you're supposed to build up. But the end was an avalanche of breaking news. An avalanche. At first, you're kind of like, "Where's the breaking news?" And then just.
Well, you're in it. You're in it. You're wishing you had a steel umbrella. It's raining down so hard upon you.
Yeah,
totally. That's how I feel. That's why I'm wearing the hard hat. I wear a helmet to the show because stuff's going to drop on me at any moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Smart, careful.
Stop, drop, and roll, duck and cover. I don't know. I'm doing it all, folks.
So that's it. I guess. Any more questions? I think we got to pretty much everybody's questions that we were able to see. Did you see any? Don't forget to order your degrees. I would take advantage of that.
Yeah, take advantage of that now. You too can be a doctor, and you can be a Scottish lord. That's too much, folks. I do want to remind you to watch our other show too. What is Doug reading it? Or check us out live every Thursday around this time. At least go there and give us a thumbs up. You can thumb down this show all you want, but give us a thumbs up, maybe some comments. Because as of right now, I think it's just Asian hookers that are commenting on our show, and I really, it's doing something to my self-esteem.
Isn't that weird? And Doug isn't just. He's not being inappropriate here. He's actually telling the truth for some reason. We're getting these accounts of, I think they're Korean accounts with these women where sometimes they're not wearing any clothes, these young women, and they are commenting on our show like crazy. I don't know if we're just very popular in the brothels of North Korea or something. What's going on?
They're into pith. Yeah. Could be the pith.
Yeah. So we did have one question. I guess this will be the last question of the day. Doug, are you bald? Ba-ba-bam.
The opposite of bald. I'm hirsute, in fact.
Yeah. He's a hairy dude. So there you go.
This is my coat. Typically my hair is not this long, but I'm in protest. I'm flying my freak flag high since March. I've been growing my hair out. I haven't been to the barber or anything like that. So I'm just growing it out. And and again, I have a shaving company, so I got the beard, I got the hair. This goes against, everything I'm about. But again, it's protest. I'm protesting the virus who doesn't care if I protest. So there's that.
This is funny. Now, someone's saying, "Are you wearing pants?" I am wearing pants.
I'm not.
You're not. Good. Baba Yaga says maybe we're getting all of those people looking because of the Google search history, our Google search history. That's very funny, but I think it's that our demographic is like 20 to 50-year-old men for the most part. And I'm sure that's why they're doing it. Because as soon as they comment, some guy says, "Ooh, look at that." And then they go look at her videos and probably find her site or something like that.
I'm the only one looking at our videos after the fact. That's a live show. I don't think we've ever exceeded more than 400 views. And I think that's just live as it's going on. They're watching it. But we don't get any comments, guys. We don't get any thumbs up after the fact. It's live is where it's at, apparently. But I think there's so much to be gleaned after the fact. It's like a fine wine episode, you know what I mean? So please show us some love in what is Doug reading. It's paranormal reading rainbow for those who don't understand. Nothing to do with UFOs, or they often come up.
And as we wrap, this is an interesting experiment. Okay, this will be it. I promise. Look at how much oil is on my face. You know how I wiped it off? And now look, quite a bit back. This demonstrates I can only film for about an hour and 15 minutes before I need to have another power. The makeup people need makeup.
I think you should powder. You should definitely powder yourself like Island of Dr. Moreau type style, and just every show really white start off. And honestly, have you seen the movie Island of Dr. Moreau?
Yes.
Okay, so time. That's when Trump first came into office. That's what he reminded me of with that red, but instead of the powder,
that's what you said.
Yeah, it's very eccentric like that. It's really. So there's a correlation there, I'm sure, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about here, folks. But thanks again for tuning in. This has been another Rojas Report. I'm Douglas Smythe from PhoenixShaving.com. To my left, host and good friend, what's your name? Alejandro Rojas. Are we signing off?
This is actually Open Mind UFO Radio.
Oh, that's right. Open Mind.
Like, is the show over? What's going on here? Yeah, we're being idiots. So, yes, the show is over. This is Open Mind UFO Radio. Thank you, Mr. Douglas Smythe. Thank you for joining us this week. Of course, everybody can find you at PhoenixShaving.com, or the URL, I think, is, and it is below in the Doug's looking down there, but you can't see it unless you are on YouTube and you look at the information on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then be sure and subscribe to the site. Also, hit the little bell, because when we do these live things, sometimes they're not a whole lot of notice. We do them on Thursdays and Fridays. Like Doug said, we do What is Doug Reading on Thursdays. Check that out. And then Open Mind UFO Radio is on Fridays. And of course, this is where we break down all the UFO news. And I blocked him just so he wouldn't. I saw you before. So that's it. All right. Any last words before I give our sign off?
Rosebud.
Thank you. Oh, man. That brings up another topic, which is the movie. I liked it. There's a new movie about the making of Citizen Kane out. It's pretty interesting. Check that out. Gary Oldman. It's on Netflix. Pretty good. So until next time, adios, muchachos.
Muchachos.